Hi, good evening. I'd like to welcome you to Poem Praise 2, and peace and blessings be upon you and your family this evening. Now, we are going to get right back into Black Stars, African American Women Writers. And currently, right now, we are on Lucille Clifton. During the time period of 1936, and I'll show you a picture of Lucille again, and there she is. So without further ado, this is the information that I have for you, for Lucille. Now, one of the most beloved writers of her generation, Lucille Clifton, had 6 children, all under the age of 10, when her first book was published. She has lived what most people would call an ordinary life and writes about everyday feelings and experiences. Born to Samuel I. Sayes, a steel mill worker, and Thelma Moore Sayes, a laundress, Clifton grew up in Depew, New York. Her parents did not receive a formal education, but her mother wrote poetry that she read to her 4 children, and her father told them stories of their ancestors. It was her father's stories that Clifton would later draw from when writing her family history in her book, Generations. Clifton was successful in tracking her family back to her great-great-grandmother, Carolina Donald, born in Dahomey, West Africa, who, along with other family members, was kidnapped by slave traders. Clifton was named for her great-grandmother, who was the first woman legally hanged in Virginia. Yeah, you heard me right. I said legally hanged in Virginia. She was hanged for murdering the white father of her only son. Part of Clifton's success in retracing her family roots came through a distant white relative who contacted the poet. After completing high school, Lucille Clifton attended Howard University from 1953 to 1955. Unhappy at Howard, she transferred to the State University of New York at Fredonia, but did not complete her studies. She continued to write, however, and in 1958 she married Fred J. Clifton. She worked as a claims clerk for New York State, a position she held for many years. From 1969 to 1970, she was a literature assistant for the U.S. Office of Education in Washington, D.C. Clifton, her first published writing was a short story in Negro Digest during the 1960s. When her first book, Good Times, was published in 1969, she recalls being happy and proud. But at age 33, and with so many small children, says that she was too busy to take it terribly seriously. As my children have grown up, I've been able to travel more and I enjoy public life. I also enjoy the private. Clifton's writings are characterized by her use of simple, clear language and a strong sense of Black pride. She writes in her poem, For the Lord, I come from a line of Black and going on women. Her poetry also acknowledges the elderly and those forgotten by society, as illustrated in her poem, Miss Rosie. The poetess said, "I have never believed that for anything to be valid, or true, or intellectual, or deep, it had to be complex. I am not interested if anyone knows whether or not I am familiar with big words. I am interested in trying to render big ideas in a simple way. I am interested in being understood, not admired." Along with simplicity, clarity of language, and a strong sense of Black pride, Clifton also uses humor to communicate her ideas to her readers. The author's first book, Good Times, is a typical of this. Good Time, which depicts the strength of inner city Black families through difficult times, was named Best Book of the Year by the New York Times. Clifton's award-winning books and poetry for children describe the many issues young people struggle with while growing up. In praise of the author, noted poet Haki Madhubuti, and I'm going to spell the last name, Madhubuti, calls her the quiet warrior, adding that she is without a doubt a family woman whose husband, children, and extended family have represented and played roles of great importance in her life and work. Clifton has taught at Coppin State College, Gosher College, and the American University in Washington, D.C. She has lectured extensively and held poet in residence posts at various colleges and universities, including the University of Cincinnati, George Washington University, Fisk University, and Trinity College. The awards and special honors she has received for her work include a nomination for a Discover Award, Poetry Center, 1969, a Pulitzer Prize Committee Citation, 1970, a National Endowment for the Arts Fellowship, 1972 and 1974, honorable mention for the Jane Addams Award, 1979, Poet Laureate of Maryland, 1979, a nomination for a Pulitzer Prize, 1980, an honorary Doctor of Humane Letters, Gosher College, 1980, and an honorary Doctor of Humane Letters, University of Maryland, 1980. Her publications include Good Times, 1969, Good News About the Earth, 1972, An Ordinary Woman, 1974, Generations, 1976, Two-Headed Woman, 1970, Good Woman, Poems and a Memoir, 1969 and 1980, 1987. Her titles for children and young adults are The Days of Everett Anderson, 1969, The Black BCs, 1970, Everett Anderson's Christmas Comin', 1971, Good, Says Jerome, 1973, All Us Come Cross the Water, 1973, Don't You Remember? 1973, Everett Anderson Years, 1974, The Time That Used to Be, 1974, My Brother Fine and Me, 1975, Everett Anderson's Friend, 1975, Amifika, or Amifika, Amifika, 1977, Everett Anderson, 1, 2, 3, 1977, Everett Anderson's 9-month-long, 1978. The Boy Who Didn't Believe in Spring, 1978. The Lucky Stone, 1979. My Friend Jacob, 1980. And Sonora Beautiful, 1981. The poet and the author currently teaches at the University of California at Santa Cruz and maintains her home in Baltimore, Maryland. Now, the last section I have for you with Lucille Clifton is this section right here entitled An Ordinary Life, which reads as such. I grew up a well-loved child in a loving family, so I have always known that being very poor, which we were, has nothing to do with lovingness or familyness or character or any of that. This doesn't mean that we weren't content and never worked at having more. It means that we are quite sure that we are among the best of people, and not having money had nothing to do with that. Other people's opinions didn't influence us about that. When I write, especially for children, I try to get that across, that being poor or whatever your circumstances, you are capable of being the best of people, and that best as a human does not come from the outside in. It comes from the inside out. And that does complete an ordinary life. And what I just read to you, that was from Lucille Clifton. From me to you here on Poem Praise 2, coming out of Black Stars, African American women writers. And the next writer I have for you is going to be Tommy Cade Bambara. And here is a picture of her, just to give you a preview who that is before we start her for the next one. Now, until then, I want you to be well, take care, and it be at thy will. I will speak with you soon, here on Poem Praise 2. So, until next time, later, y'all.